The kingdom of my divine will in the midst of creatures. Book of Heaven, Volume 34, Part 13. May 10th, 1937. How God makes himself food for the creature. Their mutual exchange, their harmonizing, their speaking to each other, form the most beautiful works. How the Queen of Heaven continues her office of mother and raises her son in the creatures. The sea of the divine will continues to inundate me, and since I am incapable and unable to do anything, it seems to delight in feeding me, tiny little one, with its own hands, more than maternal, the food of its fiat, and in teaching me word by word, syllable by syllable, the first vowels of the science of the divine will. And when it seems that somehow I have understood it, oh, how it celebrates! Because it feels all the certainty of forming a soul, all of divine will. And I, in seeing its maternal cares, how happy I am, and I thank it wholeheartedly. And my beloved Jesus, as the speaker of his volition, all goodness, told me, my little daughter of my will, each truth I manifest to you about my fiat is one more growth of it that you go through. It is one more bite of food that serves to strengthen you, warm you, and conform you more in it. It is one more sip you drink of the immense sea of my will. It is one more divine property you acquire. Now, you must know that for each additional act you do in it, we set before you our celestial table. And if you love, it feeds you our love. If you move on to comprehend us, it feeds you our wisdom. And oh, how many beautiful news and knowledges it gives you of your Creator. So your God becomes your exquisite food. Therefore, in everything you do, now it feeds you with our power, now with our goodness, now with our sweetness, with our strength, light, and mercy of ours. So the human littleness, by living in our eternal volition, absorbs us sip by sip, bite after bite, because, being little, it is not given to it, even as much as possible for a creature, to take altogether what it must take of our divine being. More so, since this serves to delight each other, we in giving, she in receiving, we giving of our own, she giving us her littleness, we working her as we want, and she letting us work. It is our mutual exchange, our harmonizing, our speaking to each other that forms our most beautiful works as we carry out the life of our will in the creature. In doing nothing, nothing is accomplished. Therefore, it is necessary to operate, to speak, to let ourselves be comprehended, to work, in order to make the most beautiful statues, the repeaters of our life. So when we find one who wants to listen to us, and give herself to us in order to receive. We hold nothing back of what we can and know how to do for the creature. Now, my daughter, when the creature has nourished herself from our Fiat unto knowing no other food, and has formed the chain of her acts, all sealed by the characteristics of the divine virtues, God remains imprisoned within his own divine virtues inside the creature. And if she loves then, it is God that makes a display of the power of his love, of his goodness, sanctity, and so forth, in the acts of the creature. So, the power unleashed through these acts that God does in his creature is such as to invest heaven and earth, hover over all souls, invest them and overwhelm them with its powerful love, making them receive the kiss of the divine will in such a way that the human family will feel its power and its love wanting to reign. More so, since this right is given to them by God, hidden by means of a creature that belongs to their human race. Hence, they won't be able to disown these rights, except for some perfidious ones. But still, my power will know how to knock them down and conquer them. So let me accomplish the work of my will in you. Don't stand in the way, and you and I will be happy to see it reigning in the other creatures. After this, I received Holy Communion, and in my interior, my dear Jesus made himself seen as so very little, while the Celestial Mother laid her azure mantle over me and the divine little one. Then, I don't know how, I felt her inside of me, kissing, caressing, taking her dear son into her arms. She clasped him to her heart, nurtured him, nourished him, did to him 1,000 stratagems of love, and I was spectator and marveled. And the sovereign celestial mamma, with an astounding love, told me, "My daughter, there is nothing to be marveled about. I am inseparable from my dear Jesus. Wherever the Son is, there must be the Mother. This is my task, to raise him within souls. He is tiny, and souls don't know much about the way they must raise him, nor do they have the milk of love with which to nourish him, calm his crying, warm him when they make him numb with cold. I, who am the mother, know the little needs of my divine baby, nor could he be without his mamma. We are inseparable from each other. I repeat within the souls what I did in his tender age, and while I raise my son, offering all the care to render him happy, at the same time I take care of the daughter, to raise her according to the way my son wants her. This is my mission, more than celestial. As soon as I see my son in the souls, so do I run and descend into them, and I occupy myself with his growth. More so since, one being the will of my son with mine, as though naturally, wherever he is, there I am as well. And as a consequence, my love imposes itself in carrying out the office of mother for he who so much loves me, and for those whom we so much love. Indeed, I feel them like twins, born of one labor, my son God and the creature. How not to love them? Then, with a more tender and moving tone, she added, my daughter, how beautiful, great, and prodigious is the virtue of the divine will! It empties everything that is not light or divine. It unites the farthest distances. It repeats in act what was done over centuries and centuries. And it renders as though natural the human act in the divine. It is its creative power that reaches the extent of bilocating, of multiplying, of transforming its very life in the creature. Therefore, love it very much, and deny nothing to it. Fiat. May 16th, 1937. The Truths. Divine birth, the greatest miracle that God can make, and the good it brings to creatures. I am always back into the sea of the divine volition. The many truths manifested to me were crowding my little mind, like many refulgent suns. And each of them wanted to tell the story of the divine fiat, but one distinct from the other. One wanted to tell the story of its eternal light, another of its sanctity, another of the way it forms its life in the center of the soul. In sum, all of them had something to say about a will so holy, and all had a special task, to be bearers of the good that each of them enclosed, in such a way that, united together, they formed one single life. However, in order to be able to deposit the good they enclosed, they wanted to be listened to be received through the doors of the soul, to be recognized, and almost begged and appreciated, so that they would deposit the life which they contained. I kept wandering in the midst of so many messengers, as all of them wanted to tell the eternal story of the fiat. And my highest good, Jesus, repeating his short little visit, with an unspeakable love, told me, my little daughter of the divine volition, you must know that the greatest miracle that our divine being can make is to manifest a truth that belongs to us. In fact, each truth is formed and matured within our bosom first, and then we issue it outside as a birth from us, to be bearer of divine life for the good of creatures. And only when our love raises its flame so high that in order not to remain suffocated, we feel the need to issue our divine births, only then do we deliver of this birth. See, then, what we put out by manifesting a truth, not heavens, sun, or wind, but life of ours, as bearer of divine life to the creatures. The other miracles, even creation itself, are works of ours, not life. But the truths are perennial life, and if they find one who receives them, They bilocate. They multiply in an incredible way for each creature, so much so that each creature can keep them for herself as life that belongs to her. These truths, as births from us, resemble our Supreme Being in everything. They are not voice, yet they speak and make others speak. They have no feet, yet they walk, but so fast that no one can reach them or prevent their step. They enter into the intellects and form the thought in order to make themselves known. They transmute the will to let themselves be possessed. They renew the memory so as not to be forgotten. They walk through the avenues of the heart to make themselves loved. So they have no hands, and they operate. They have no eyes, and they look. They don't have a heart, but generate love. The truths are nothing other than palpitating lives of our divine being in the midst of creatures. Heartbeat without a heart, because our heart is the creature, while we, as most pure spirit, present everywhere, are the heartbeat that can be felt, though it cannot be seen. And we form the life and give it to all the human generations. Hence, there is no miracle similar to the great miracle of when we issue a truth from ourselves. It is a life of ours that we expose, which more than sun will become light of the creatures, such that, darting through them with its vital warmth, will mature its life, first in the creature to whom it is directed, and then by diffusing among those who want to receive it. And if our truths find ungrateful creatures who do not want to receive so great a good, they are not subject to either dying or losing life, but they wait with invincible patience, even centuries if needed, for new generations to whom they will give the goods they possess, and will accomplish the purpose for which they came out of our divine bosom. In issuing our truths, we look at the centuries, and when we are certain that they will bilocate and multiply our lives in the midst of creatures, then do we issue them, to give the good that they possess, and to receive the honor and divine glory that our truths possess. We never do useless things. Do you think that the many truths we have manifested to you about our will, with so much love, will not bear their fruit, and will not form their lives within souls? Not at all. If we have issued them, it is because we know with certainty that they will indeed bear their fruit, and will establish the kingdom of our will in the midst of creatures. If not today, because it seems to them that it isn't food adaptable for them, and perhaps they even despise what could form divine life in them. The time will come when they will compete to see who can get to know these truths more. By knowing them, they will love them. Love will render them food adaptable for them. And in this way, my truths will form the life that they will offer to them. Therefore, do not be concerned. It is a matter of time. I, who know how things will unfold, do not stop. I continue to manifest my truths. And you, follow your flight. Be ready to listen to me and to put them into practice. Fiat. May 23rd, 1937. How the divine will is order and peace, and this is the sign wherever it reigns. One who lives in the divine volition is constantly renewed in the divine sanctity, love, and freshness, and in her act runs the creating and growing act of the divine goods. The sea of the divine volition murmurs continuously, but with such harmony, order, and peace. Its waves, though gigantic, are always peaceful, and as they invest the creatures, and heaven, and earth, first they give them the embrace and the kiss of peace, and then they enter into their souls. If they do not receive the kiss of peace, it seems that they pass over them, because the divine will does not adapt to a place where there is no peace. It is unfit for it. But while my mind was wandering within this sea, my always lovable Jesus, visiting my little soul with divine sweetness and peace, told me, "My blessed daughter, my will is order, and the sign it reigns in the soul is perfect order, which generates peace. Hence, peace is a daughter of order, and order is a direct child generated by my fiat. But you don't know the great good that order produces. Order gives dominion to the creature, and renders her dominator of herself and dominator of all created things. And since her dominion is divine, because it is generated by my will, she dominates over my will itself and over all. But this is not all yet. The virtue of order is admirable. It binds itself to all. It gives itself to all. And with its peaceful and dominating waves, it takes and appropriates the strength of creation and that of the saints that are in heaven. Even the very divine strength, she makes it her own. Her manners, orderly and peaceful, are so penetrating and insinuating that all let her operate. More so, since she has given herself to all. She has kept nothing for herself. Therefore it is right that all give themselves to her. So she feels within herself the peace, the joy, the happiness of the celestial dwelling. All feel unified and bound with inseparable union, because what my will unites is not subject to separation. Hence, true order brings the union and the accord with all. The creature has a place in everyone, and all will find a little place in her, who will love them with that same love with which their very Creator loves them. These are the prodigies that my omnipotent fiat knows how to do. Wherever it reigns, It can but do works that resemble it, and generate in the soul the effects that form its very life, so much so that no one will be able to find fault in her, and I must be able to say, nobody touch her. Indeed, no one will be able to touch her, because she is will of mine, and if anyone dared to, I will know how to defend myself. My love will convert for them into fire of justice, and I will humiliate them unto dust. Therefore, be attentive that everything be order and peace in you. If you perceive anything contrary, put yourself on guard, and pray me, press me, that I may knock down with my dominion anything that is not order and perennial peace. Afterwards, I continued to think about the divine will, and my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, as the creature calls my will into her acts in order to live in it, my will invests the creature and her act with its creative strength, and renews its divine life. Suppose that she calls it while she is operating. Listen to what my will does. It calls in act all the times she has operated. It unites them together as if they were one single act, and putting in its creative strength, it transforms everything she has done and is doing into divine. It seals on it the sanctity of its works, and gives her the new merit and glory as if she had done everything anew for love of it. If she loves, it calls back to life all the times she has loved, and makes of them one single love. If she suffers, it calls to life all the times she has suffered, unites them together, places on them the seal of divine pains, and gives her the new merit for as many times as she has loved and suffered. In sum, everything that she has done and that she repeats, it all returns in act by uniting together in order to receive the new beauty, sanctity, grace, freshness, love, and new merit. In my will there are no separated or divided acts, but highest unity. Everything must resemble me, with this difference alone, that in the creature there is our creating and growing act, while our Supreme Being is not subject to either growing or decreasing. Our fullness, immensity, and infinity is such that in order to give vent to our love, we feel the need to love the creatures, and to be loved, but without decreasing a tiny bit. This is why we are all eyes. We are as though on the lookout to see when she wants to live life in our will, so as to have the occasion to love her more and enrich her with our love, to receive love. We can say that we cover her with our divine being. We harmonize her with us in order to enjoy her and give her from our own. And when she, stirred by the fever of our love and by our burning breath that tells her constantly, I love you, O daughter, when she makes our echo her own and repeats to us, I love you, I love you, life of my life, love of my love, my Father, my Creator, my all, I love you. She puts us in feast and gives us the pure joys that we want for having given her life. This is why we want her in our will, to keep her as we want, to give her what we want to give her, and to receive what we want from her. Outside of our fiat, our love remains hampered for her. There is such distance between she and us that she ends up feeling far away from us, and we far away from her. And she reaches the point of fearing us and of being afraid of us. Human will, where does it cast my creature, whom I so much love? Fiat. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 34, Part 13. Fiat.